In the year 2000, Setagaya Ward, located on the western outskirts of Tokyo, was a quiet and serene suburban neighborhood. It was a place where families could enjoy a peaceful life away from the hustle and bustle of the city. Tucked away in this residential area was the home of the Miyazawa family, a seemingly ordinary family of four. The Miyazawas, 44-year-old Mikio, his wife Yasuko, aged 41, their 8-year-old daughter Niina, and 6-year-old son Rei, were well liked in the community. Mikio worked in marketing for a local company, while Yasuko was a schoolteacher. Niina and Rei, bright and playful children, spent their days playing in the nearby park. It was a typical, suburban family life. They had no known enemies and were seen as the picture of a happy family. Setagaya, though peaceful, was rapidly changing. Over the years, construction and urban development had encroached upon the once quiet neighborhoods, creating a mix of older homes and new developments. The Miyazawas' house sat near Soshigaya Park, which was popular with local children and teenagers. While the park remained a favorite spot for families, it also attracted a different kind of crowd: teenagers, skaters, and the occasional outsider. Despite these changes, the family continued their quiet life, preparing for the new year, unaware of the tragedy that would soon unfold. December 29, 2000, was just another typical day for the Miyazawas. The children were enjoying the winter break, and Yasuko was preparing for the upcoming New Year celebrations. It was a time of reflection and family gatherings, and, like many others across Japan, the Miyazawas were looking forward to the year ahead. However, by the end of December 30th, the quiet tranquility of Setagaya would be shattered in a way that no one could have predicted. December 30th, 2000 began like any other day for the Miyazawa family. They were in the middle of their New Year's preparations, a time of rest and celebration in Japan. Mikio, Yasuko, Niina, and Rei went about their daily routines, perhaps unaware of the figure who was silently watching their home. It's believed that sometime during the evening, an intruder made his way into the Miyazawa household. How or why he targeted this family remains unclear to this day, but the killer's approach was premeditated. Investigators would later find that the telephone line had been cut, suggesting the intruder had planned to isolate the family before making his move. The family's home, which shared a wall with their relatives next door, had an unusual design: 2 stories in the front and 3 stories in the back, giving the killer several access points. He chose to enter the house by climbing up to the second-floor bathroom window. Once inside, the nightmare began. Sometime after 11 p.m., the killer struck. First, he attacked 6-year-old Rei, who had been sleeping in his bed. The boy was strangled to death, possibly to prevent him from making any noise that could alert his family. But the attack did not go unnoticed. Hearing the disturbance, Mikio rushed to his son's aid, only to be brutally attacked. The intruder had come prepared, bringing a knife with him, but Mikio fought back. Evidence at the scene suggested a violent struggle. Despite Mikio's efforts, the killer overpowered him and ultimately stabbed him to death on the staircase between the 2nd and 3rd floors. After killing Mikio, the intruder made his way upstairs, where Yasuko and Niina were hiding in a bedroom. The killer found them both, and in a swift, savage attack, he stabbed them repeatedly. Yasuko tried to shield her daughter, but both succumbed to their injuries. By now, the house had fallen silent. The Miyazawa family, once vibrant and full of life, had been extinguished in a matter of minutes. Yet the killer wasn't finished. In a bizarre twist that has baffled investigators, he didn't leave the scene immediately after the murders. Instead, he lingered. He calmly searched through the family's belongings, ate ice cream from the fridge, and even used the computer to browse the internet. It's believed he stayed in the house for several hours after the killings, showing an unsettling lack of urgency or fear of being caught. December 31st, 2000. What should have been a day of joy and celebration as the Miyazawa family prepared for New Year's Day. But that morning, the house was unnaturally quiet. Their relatives next door, who shared a wall with the Miyazawas, had grown concerned. By mid-morning, Yasuko's mother, who lived just steps away, had decided to check on the family. What she found would forever alter the quiet neighborhood of Setagaya. Yasuko's mother entered the home through the front door. At first, nothing seemed amiss. But as she moved deeper into the house, the scene before her was beyond comprehension. The lifeless body of Mikio lay at the foot of the stairs, brutally stabbed. The house had fallen silent. She screamed for help. The police were called to the scene immediately. When officers arrived, they found a crime that would haunt them for decades. Mikio on the stairs. Yasuko and Niina in the bedroom upstairs, huddled together in their final moments. And in his room, little Rei, strangled to death in his bed. The Miyazawa home quickly became the site of an intensive investigation. Police cordoned off the area, but the scene they encountered was unlike any they had ever seen before. The killer had not just brutally murdered a family of 4, he had stayed behind, seemingly indifferent to the gravity of his actions. The crime scene was a bizarre mix of violence and calm. There were signs of a struggle, yet in other areas of the house, the killer had gone about his business as if nothing had happened. He used the computer. He ate food from the refrigerator. He even left items behind: footprints, blood, clothing, and fingerprints, clues that baffled investigators. Why would someone commit such a horrific crime and then linger as if the house were his own? Despite the abundance of physical evidence, no immediate suspect could be found. The DNA, the fingerprints, the blood, it all led to more questions than answers. With no clear motive and no suspect in custody, the case would soon take on a life of its own, becoming one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries in Japan. The hours following the discovery of the Miyazawa family's bodies were crucial. As investigators began their work, they were faced with a scene that was both brutal and enigmatic. The killer had left behind a disturbing amount of evidence, yet the clues seemed to lead in all directions, offering little in the way of clear answers. Among the key pieces of evidence were items left behind by the killer: a blood-stained sweater, a knife with a blade that seemed ill-suited for the brutality of the crime, and a pair of trainers marked with fluorescent dye. These items were scrutinized in the hope that they would lead to a breakthrough. The killer had used the family's computer, a chilling detail that added a personal touch to the crime. He also ate food from the refrigerator and used the family's toilet, leaving behind fingerprints and DNA. Despite the extensive evidence, the investigation faced numerous obstacles. The killer's clothing had been purchased in Kanagawa Prefecture, but only a fraction of those garments could be traced back to their buyers. The fluorescent dye found on the trainers was linked to a specific type of powder used in industrial processes, but the trail went cold quickly. The DNA analysis was more revealing. The killer's blood was type A, but it was the genetic profile that intrigued investigators the most. The analysis suggested that the killer had a mixed ethnic background: a mother of European descent and a father of Asian descent. This lead, while promising, was not enough to narrow down the suspect pool significantly. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the investigation encountered numerous false leads and theories. Every new piece of evidence seemed to open up more questions than answers. The killer's apparent disorganization and lack of a clear motive only deepened the mystery, making this case one of the most complex and haunting investigations in Japanese criminal history. With each passing day, the pressure mounted for the police to solve the case. Despite the tireless efforts of hundreds of officers and the community's support, the shadow of the Setagaya murders loomed large, leaving the truth obscured and the family's killers still at large. As the days turned into weeks, the police realized that solving the Setagaya murders required more than just forensic evidence and investigative techniques. They needed the public's help. The case, already shocking for its brutality, became a focal point in media coverage, amplifying the need for information from anyone who might have seen or heard something. In the early weeks following the murders, the police launched a widespread appeal for information. Flyers were distributed across Tokyo, and a large-scale media campaign was initiated. The police even set up a dedicated hotline for tips and encouraged the community to come forward with any information that could aid in solving the case. The media frenzy surrounding the case was intense. National and international news outlets covered the story extensively, highlighting the disturbing nature of the crime and the ongoing efforts to track down the killer. Television programs, newspapers, and online platforms reported on every development, creating a continuous stream of information about the case. The extensive media coverage had a dual effect. On one hand, it kept the case in the public eye and maintained pressure on the authorities to find the perpetrator. On the other hand, it also led to speculation, rumors, and a flood of misinformation. The police's public appeal also faced challenges. Despite the large number of tips received, many were either irrelevant or misleading. The sheer volume of information made it difficult for investigators to sift through and find credible leads. The case's high profile meant that even minor details were scrutinized and debated extensively in the media. One of the most striking elements of the public appeal was the display of a mannequin dressed in clothing similar to what the killer was believed to have worn. This visual representation aimed to help witnesses recall any suspicious behavior or sightings related to the case. However, despite these efforts, the killer remained elusive. Over time, the case became a symbol of unresolved crime in Japan. The Setagaya murders were discussed not only as a brutal crime, but also as a symbol of the challenges faced by law enforcement in solving complex cases. The media's persistent coverage kept the case in the public consciousness, but it also highlighted the difficulties in obtaining actionable information. The public's fascination with the case led to a variety of theories and speculations, from amateur detectives and internet forums to professional criminologists. Each new theory or piece of speculation added to the already complex narrative of the case, making it one of the most enigmatic and discussed criminal investigations in recent Japanese history. As the investigation into the Setagaya murders continued, forensic science played a crucial role in piecing together the puzzle of what happened in that fateful house. From fingerprints and DNA to the analysis of materials left behind, forensic evidence was the primary tool investigators had to identify and apprehend the killer. One of the most significant breakthroughs in the case came from the DNA evidence collected at the crime scene. Forensic teams discovered traces of blood that did not belong to any of the victims. This blood, identified as type A, indicated that the killer had a mother of European descent. More specifically, the DNA analysis suggested a connection to countries around the Mediterranean or Adriatic Sea. The DNA analysis also revealed information about the killer's paternal lineage. The Y chromosome analysis showed that the killer's father was of Asian descent. This genetic marker appeared in a significant portion of the population in East Asia, specifically in Koreans, Chinese, and Japanese. The evidence suggested that the killer was approximately 170 centimeters tall and of a thin build. These findings provided a partial profile of the suspect but also highlighted the limitations of forensic science. Despite the detailed genetic information, the police struggled to narrow down the list of potential suspects. The DNA evidence was crucial, but not enough to identify the killer definitively. In addition to DNA, forensic investigators examined other evidence left at the scene. Traces of fluorescent powder on the clothing and the bag discarded by the killer pointed to the use of specific products or locations. The presence of sand from a nearby Air Force base suggested a possible link to the military or a specific geographical area. Forensic analysis also revealed unusual details about the clothing found at the scene. The sweater, which had only recently gone on sale, was traced back to a limited number of stores. This clue provided some hope of tracking down the suspect, but the trail soon went cold as the investigation uncovered more obstacles. The forensic evidence provided critical insights into the case, offering a glimpse into the killer's background and movements. However, despite the detailed analysis and the substantial information gathered, the investigation faced significant challenges. The combination of partial DNA profiles, specific but non-conclusive forensic clues, and the sheer volume of evidence made it difficult to piece together a complete picture. As the years passed, forensic advances continued to offer hope. New technologies and methodologies in DNA analysis and evidence examination were developed, but they also highlighted the complexities and limitations of solving such a high-profile and intricately detailed case. As the investigation into the Setagaya murders progressed, the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department turned to the public for assistance. Despite the thorough forensic analysis, the case lacked direct witnesses, and the police sought to generate new leads through public appeals. The first major public appeal came shortly after the discovery of the bodies. Flyers were distributed throughout Tokyo, particularly in areas close to the crime scene. These flyers included descriptions of the suspect's clothing, the unusual items found at the scene, and a request for any information that could lead to the identification of the perpetrator. Forensic analysis played a crucial role in the investigation of the Setagaya murders. The crime scene was meticulously examined, and a range of evidence was collected to help identify the perpetrator. This chapter explores the forensic findings and their significance in the ongoing quest for justice. The forensic team collected numerous items from the crime scene, including fingerprints, DNA samples, and clothing. The thorough examination of these items was essential for understanding the nature of the crime and attempting to track down the suspect. One of the key pieces of evidence was the DNA found at the scene. Analysis revealed traces of blood not belonging to the Miyazawa family. This led to the identification of a mixed DNA profile, suggesting that the perpetrator had a mother of European descent and a father of Asian descent. This profile was unique and provided valuable insights into the suspect's possible background. The forensic team also examined the clothing left at the scene, including a sweater and trainers. The sweater, which had only been on sale for a short time before the murders, had traces of fluorescent dye, bird droppings, and leaves from specific types of trees. This information suggested that the suspect might have been in an environment where these materials were present, such as a park or near a construction site. The analysis of the suspect's clothing provided additional clues. The trainers and other items had traces of sand from a U.S. Air Force base, suggesting that the suspect may have had access to or been near a military installation. This detail added a layer of complexity to the investigation, hinting at the suspect's possible connection to the military or a related environment. Fingerprint analysis revealed that the suspect had handled various items in the house, including the computer and the ice cream container. While these prints were crucial, they did not immediately match any known suspects, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. Despite the extensive forensic work, the case presented several challenges. The DNA and fingerprint evidence provided valuable clues, but did not lead to an immediate identification of the suspect. The mixed DNA profile and unique traces on the clothing suggested a complex background, but also left many unanswered questions. The forensic analysis underscored the complexity of the case. While the evidence was detailed and informative, it required careful interpretation and cross-referencing with other leads. As the investigation progressed, the forensic findings remained a crucial element in piecing together the puzzle of the Setagaya murders. In the aftermath of the Setagaya murders, the police launched extensive public appeals to solicit information from the community. These appeals, coupled with widespread media coverage, played a crucial role in the investigation, aiming to generate leads and keep the case in the public eye. Public appeals are a common strategy in high-profile cases designed to reach as many people as possible. In this case, the police used a variety of methods to encourage anyone with information to come forward. Flyers were distributed, announcements were made at local stations, and media outlets were engaged to broadcast the details of the crime. Each year, as the anniversary of the murders approached, police renewed their efforts to solicit tips from the public. This included distributing flyers at key locations such as Setagaya train station, where commuters were asked to come forward with any information they might have. The police also displayed a mannequin dressed in clothes similar to those worn by the suspect, hoping that someone might recognize the outfit or provide clues about its origin. This tactic aimed to jog the memory of anyone who might have seen something unusual around the time of the murders. Media coverage played a significant role in keeping the case in the public eye. News reports, documentaries, and articles spread details of the crime and the ongoing investigation, encouraging the public to provide any information they might have. The media also covered the annual memorial services and the updates from the police, maintaining public interest and keeping the pressure on for new leads. Despite these efforts, the case remained unsolved, and the media coverage often served to remind viewers of the chilling nature of the crime and the unresolved questions. The public appeals and media coverage were crucial in maintaining awareness of the Setagaya murders. However, despite these efforts, the investigation faced significant challenges. The lack of concrete leads and the passage of time made it increasingly difficult to solve the case. Public response to the appeals varied, with some tips leading to potential leads, while others yielded no new information. The persistence of the police and the continued media coverage underscored the ongoing commitment to solving the case, even as the years passed and new developments remained elusive. As we conclude our examination of the Setagaya family murders, it's important to reflect on where the case stands today. Despite 23 years of investigation, numerous appeals, and significant public and media attention, the case remains unresolved. The ongoing efforts by the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department highlight their commitment to solving this case. Each year, they continue to renew their appeals for information, hoping that new evidence or a breakthrough will emerge. The 20 million yen reward for information leading to an arrest remains a key part of these efforts. The investigation has seen many changes over the years. While some of the original detectives have retired, the case has been handed over to new teams who bring fresh perspectives and modern techniques. Advances in forensic technology and new investigative methods provide hope that the case may eventually be solved. One of the significant challenges in the investigation has been the passage of time. Witnesses have come and gone, and physical evidence has aged. However, the commitment of the police to pursuing every lead and the ongoing public appeals underscore the determination to find justice for the Miyazawa family. The Setagaya murders had a profound impact on the local community and beyond. The brutal nature of the crime and the subsequent media coverage drew significant public interest and sympathy for the victims. The case has also highlighted the challenges faced by law enforcement in solving complex and long-term investigations. It serves as a reminder of the importance of public engagement and the role that community support can play in aiding investigations. As we reflect on the Setagaya family murders, the legacy of the case continues to resonate. The pursuit of justice for the Miyazawa family remains a priority, and the hope for resolution endures. Future developments in the case may come from new evidence, technological advancements, or renewed public interest. Until then, the commitment to solving this tragic crime remains unwavering. The Setagaya murders remain a stark reminder of the importance of persistence and dedication in the quest for justice.